Wait. Don't type that snarky comment about Ebony Queen's apple or Golden Apple or whatever botanical miscreant you had thought up. That little asterisk there? Yeah, that means there's fine print. By worst and easiest, I'm judging off of a subjective deviation from a subjective level of intended difficulty. This is the wrong place if you value objectivity. Casual Chuck is down the hall and to the right. KQE, I'm not calling it KQE 1J23, is the easiest in contrast to what could be expected considering where it's encountered. But where is that exactly? In Mirror Dungeons for one, but we can throw that out the window. You can probably fight your missing sock for all the variability it has. The original appearance of KQE is in Live 1 at station number 6 in between Alleyway Watchdog and Headless Ictus?
Ichthus.
Headless Ictus. Does this mean that KQE is meant to be easier than the former, but harder than the latter? Not necessarily, but I would say that at a minimum, it's meant to be harder than Watchdog since that Abnormality is used for level 20 and 30 Luxcavations, while KQE is used for level 40 and 50 Luxcavations on different days, but these straws are the only thing I can grasp at. Focusing on those Luxcavations for a second, the Rogues Gallery in 28 to 30 and 40 to 50 aren't distinguished by any kind of exact science. I would say in general they're tougher, but the most plausible differentiation is that the 20 to 30 squad is essentially trying to unga bunga you to death in a pretty aimless fashion, but the gentlemanly bachelors of the 40 to 50, however, have the more sophisticated method of doing things. You can sift out a game plan for many of these guys. Take Drifting Fox for instance. This vicious Vulpine aims to lower your sanity as much as possible by applying Seeking Potency on you with its attacks and count through the umbrellas. Also by doing nothing, or through the stupid fucking choice event that unavoidably lowers your sanity even if you pass it and only does damage to the umbrellas, which are all probably dead by the time it activates. If you have low sanity, its otherwise weaker clashing can become unexpectedly threatening, but what it really wants to do is to be able to get off Cry Seeking Something, which is a 5 attack weight skill that uncontested can really catapult momentum in Fox's directions. That's not to say that there aren't abnos in this group that won't just kick the shit out of you, because there are, but they have something that they're trying to do. KQE stands out from the crowd as its primary objective is putting a sticky note on its back that says, "Kick me." KQE's foremost gimmick is captivity. Becoming captive means being staggered for 3 entire turns. I don't need to emphasize or embellish how threatening this is. On paper. You see, as an automaton composed of suspiciously flesh-resemblant materials, KQE abides to some pretty strict programming. If in its quote-unquote neutral mode, KQE will attempt to gain 10 charge, doing so through Booting Town Tour, which it will use 2 per turn alongside a lone, entirely unnoteworthy skill. Upon accumulating 10 or more charge, it will attempt to defy all common sense and actually try to win at a claw machine. It does this via processing transfer reg, which puts whoever it hits in captivity. In a certified suppress moment, there are 2 variations of this skill. The first time it's used, it will be unclashable and target fixed, that goes out to the unit with the most HP, and any other time it will be clashable and redirectable. After containing somebody in its crustacean clampers, well, I'll let you hypothesize. Does it A, keep on the pressure and make you contend with having a member of your team disabled? B, do nothing for 2 turns and give itself 5 fragile? C, focus. It's B. We all know it's B. On its first turn, it will sit there and use a skill that gives itself 5 protection, which pretty much means you're granted on a silver platter and cloche a free turn to cycle skills, build ego resources, and otherwise wet the blade that'll eviscerate this foul contraption. And in the following turn, it further reveals its hand as a masochist by giving itself 5 whole fragile and using the skill to stab the captive sinner. Pleased to meet you, dear neighbor, as it's called, isn't very threatening either. Yes, this is a high roll, but only having a single coise means you're taking a very tolerable amount of damage, probably about 50 or so. The 10 burn that's slapped on top could be threatening if it pushed over a stagger threshold, except you're already staggered, so this is just an extra love tap. Once you're past the first cycle of captive mode, the loop repeats, only now processing transfer reg is the clashable version. The fundamental issue with KQE should be pretty apparent by now. Everything at its disposal is designed around snatching a unit, but in doing so, leaves itself entirely vulnerable to being nuked down. This is fine, it makes sense that doing 9 unavoidable damage should leave the enemy exposed as well. However, the trade that KQE forces is unbelievably lopsided against itself. Compared to getting its circuits caved in by the combined efforts of 5 or so sinners, dealing 50, maybe even 100 damage at best to one sitter with no possibility of staggering, it may as well be nothing. For whatever reason, PM decided to include this heart that more or less gives you a free stagger on this tragically misfortunate abnormality. Not to mention that after the heart is heart attacked, KQE can't use transfer reg anymore, using the skill instead, which admittedly does clash pretty high but also staggers itself on the following turn. Do I even need to mention the universal -5 offense level on all of its skills? or that in Mirror Dungeon and only in Mirror Dungeons you can freak out its code by staggering it on turn 2, causing it to do nothing for the rest of the fight. In Railway and Luxcavations, the stagger threshold that allows you to do this is simply gone, but it is present in the base version of the Abnormality for surely well thought out reasons. The sheer magnitude to which KQE is crippled is both baffling and fosters a twisted schadenfreude in me. It isn't a particularly striking abnormality, being a callback to Amoris Hamlet, which I don't have much taste for. So having the status of a protagonist in a comedy of error saves it from total irrelevance in my mind. Also, Dante could call it a dumbass, which is very, very funny.